Welcome back to Hannity. So last night, the Democratic presidential candidates were asked, do black lives matter or do all lives matter? Take a look at their responses.
Do black lives matter or do all lives matter? Let's put that question to Senator Sanders.
Black lives matter. And the reason those words matter is the African American community knows that on any given day, some innocent person like Sandra Bland can get into a car, and then 3 days later, she's going to end up dead in jail.
The point that the Black Lives Matter movement is making is a very, very legitimate and serious point. And that is that as a nation, we have undervalued the lives of black lives, people of color.
We need a new deal for communities of color.
Senator Webb.
Now, you may remember that Governor O'Malley got booed when he actually said that all lives matter, and then later he ended up apologizing. Watch this.
Every life matters, and that is why this issue is so important. Black lives matter, white lives matter, all lives matter.
Out of the candidates who answered that question, only former Virginia Senator Jim Webb said that all lives matter. Joining us now with reaction, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark, CRN KRLA radio host Larry Elder, and Fox News political analyst Juan Williams. Hey, Sheriff, I'm having a hard time with this. White lives matter, black lives matter, Asian lives matter, Hispanic lives matter, blue lives matter. Well, what is so controversial about saying all lives matter? And what does it say when somebody won't say that?
Sean, it was a pathetic display. It was plantation politics in its finest hour, the continued enslavement of black people emotionally by the Democrat Party with this destructive liberal ideology. And they know it. They're whoring for votes. They know that's what they're doing. The liberal ideology has been very destructive for the black community for the last 50 or 60 years. Poverty is now generational. It's a lifestyle. The unemployment is obscene. They have to send their kids to failing public schools, drug and alcohol addiction, neighborhoods that are crumbling, all under Democrat control. They need to get off their knees and stop this stuff and take a real message to the American people, and especially the black community, that what they have done, they deserve an apology for from the Democrat Party.
Now, remember Minneapolis, the Black Lives Matter movement were chanting pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Remember this.
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
Democrats meeting sucking up to this group.
I don't think they're sucking up to him, but I will say that it's, to me, pandering when you can't say all lives matter. But the reason for it is purely political. There is a real issue of excessive use of police force in the country. Black Lives Matter has come in response to that issue. And so what you get is Democratic politicians.
Sheriff Clark is talking to you.
Well, no, he says no, it isn't. I mean, there's no argument that clearly there's an issue.
No, there is an argument.
If you have Michael Brown, if you have Eric Garner, if you could go on and on. But I just want to say, you guys have to become more politically sophisticated. The reason that not one Democrat would answer that honestly, I guess you could say Jim
We're not politically sophisticated, Larry Elder.
Because what they're doing is they're playing to that black vote.
I don't know what's happened to you. You wrote a brilliant book several years ago. It was entitled Enough. It was a brilliant book talking about these very same things. I don't know what's happened to you since then. You've gone back over to the other side, maybe out of fear.
I understand why politicians behave as they do. I agree that they're pandering to that black vote.
But you know something, Larry? If Juan is right and that's pandering, that is the worst sort. Because if you don't have the courage to say every single solitary life matters, that makes you a political coward. Your reaction?
You know, I didn't think it was a trick question. It seemed to me pretty easy to answer. And what's going on, of course, is the usual Democratic 101 bait and switch. They can't talk about the black economy. Under this president in the last 6.5 years, the black net worth has declined 20%. The so-called wealth gap between blacks and whites has not been this wide in 25 years. The labor force participation rate, the percentage of blacks who are working or looking for work, hasn't been this low in 40 years. Black home ownership down, black equity down. So let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Let's talk about climate change. Let's talk about any damn thing except the assault on the black economy and the assault on the black family as a result of these welfare state policies.
And Larry, it all started under the Democrats. Is that right, Larry?
I'm talking about
Exactly,
the
the
net
war on
worth of
poverty.
blacks since
Lyndon
Obama has been in
B.
office
Johnson.
is down 20%.
Larry,
It's down 20%
Larry,
since
I think
Obama's
the
been in
country
office.
went through a
Black
horrific
teenage
recession.
unemployment up.
We're going to blame Bush now.
Black poverty. Black poverty is up under this president. Black net worth is down under this president. The net worth of everybody else is pretty much flatline. The economy has hemorrhaged as a result of tax, spend, regulate, jacking up minimum wage, doing the very same things that damage the urban economy. To say nothing about porous borders. We can go on and on and on about what's happened under this president that has made the black economy hemorrhage.
Sheriff, jump in.
It has been an economic and social disaster under this liberal ideology for black people over the last 50 years. And it started with the destruction of the family unit, the most basic unit of society that has been very successful. Tore the black family apart. It has been a nightmare.
Well, I couldn't agree more that we've got to pay more attention. My feeling is black families matter. Let's be very clear. But I just think that the two of you, in focusing on all these other issues, this plays into the Black Lives Matters argument that anytime you say all lives matter, you're somehow undercutting attention to the real issue of police violence in the black community.
What if a group of people said, do white lives matter or all lives matter?
I agree with you.
Wouldn't that be racist?
No, all lives matter.
No, if the question were white lives matter or do all lives matter, and somebody says white, isn't that racist?
No, but look, you act as there's no context here. There's a context here that came out of police action in the black community.
A better question to have asked those Democrat candidates last night would have been, do babies' lives in the womb matter?
That would have been a good question. Larry, if that question was asked about any other race, would it be considered racism?
Of course it would. And I'll tell you something. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, has just conceded that because of the so-called Ferguson effect, the fact that officers are now pulling back because they're afraid of being called being accused of police brutality and being accused of racial profiling, crime has gone up. And the victims are disproportionately black people, the very same people that this so-called Black Lives Matter movement claims that they care about.
Yeah, and so I think that's why Black Lives Matter actually hurts themselves by not agreeing with you guys and saying all lives matter and bring it together. That's why
political candidates.
Then what are we arguing about?
Their own movement.
Then what are we arguing about?
It's an ideology of victimhood with a list of grievances that do not exist.
Thank you all for being with us.